Hey-ho, what's up? I'm very glad that you came back. Otherwise it would just be me talking about me to me, and that seems a little cheesy. Although there was a time when all about me came way too easy. Anyways, where did we leave off? Oh yes, with me on my way back to the inside. If you recall, I bragged about changing my ways and then really never even tried. However, with some spare time on the inside, I got to thinking about things Mr. Mo had said to me. And it may have been my wake-up call. I'm glad that I heard him, though normally that listening stuff was not something I did do well at all. Wait a minute. I'm assuming that you have listened to Rigby's first tale and have the lowdown on this reformed raccoon, and why I feel that my tales are worthy to share. I do hope to inspire your what not to do's, so you can be as happy as you dare. My diary tells me that it was a frosty February afternoon in 2011 when I was kicked to the curb once again. Another 32 days wasted on the inside. I had lost the entire month of January and now was beginning this new month in an all too familiar ride. The hope that I had found last time out had slipped away, and that exhausting self-pity was back, feeling like it was there to stay. I was wishing that I hadn't blown it with Mr. Mo. He was good at helping critters with no place to go. But I had acted like a nincompoop, so there I was once again trying to decide on a new direction. I tell you, that is hard to do when you have no ideas and no connection. You may recall that back in mid-December on the same icy curb, it had been suggested that I find some of that good character stuff. As I sat muttering to myself, tossing a snowball, I decided maybe I had not considered that plan enough. Clearly, in the past, my behavior was not the smartest. I cannot even count the times that I was told my thinking was not the sharpest. Looking back, I can see that they were usually right. For instance, at my hearing for the diner buffet and bolt, when I slipped my crayon to the judge as a little bribe. You would have thought I gave her an electric jolt. Yep, she did not like that a bit, and added 2 extra lock-up days to my 30. She then ordered me back to the zoo, and I was led away by a guard named Gertie. To be honest, I found it hard to change my ways because I had been the same since I was a runt. I had to be tough, I had to fend for myself, so the recklessness became my front. Yep, I kept my messes in my noggin and put my gloomy under a log. I stayed tough and careless during the daylight, but I was far from brave at night, especially if there was fog. I know, a raccoon afraid of the dark, how could that be? I'm not sure why, but that was me. Let's go back to that February afternoon when again, out the door I was tossed along with my diary, half a crayon. The judge broke it, my nifty bow tie and a new piece of advice. Get out of town, troublemaker, maybe find a warmer climate. We gave your scarf to the homeless mice. Well, I knew when I wasn't wanted, so I headed north toward the grazing land. Yep, it was time to move on and start a reckless rebrand. As I scuttered amongst the hustle and bustle heading to the outer limits, I was giving plenty of thought to my reckless ways, and I could see that they were the cause of many lost and lonely days. My me, myself, and I obsession always seemed to turn my mood to a darker shade of blue. But I was determined to change things this time around. It's going to be different, I just knew. I went looking for a meadow for a quiet, more gentle scene, less trouble, right? But I would pass by many party animals before that sight. With a better life in mind and my wits about me, I skittered on by all the party critters and found what seemed a delightful spot. There was a welcoming tune in the air, and I slowed my pace to an unruffled trot. The north wind had picked up and was rattling the icicled trees, sending snap-crackle-pops whispering in the frosty breeze. I was feeling the cold and dark was arriving. I needed to find shelter if I planned on surviving. Then I spotted a light glow just beyond the next hill, so I headed in that direction to avoid the darkness and maybe find a meal. As I reached the crest of the hill, I could see the light was from a cow shed, and it seemed the perfect place to lay my head. I moved closer to get a better look, but had to stop and silence the crunch of snow. I heard hooting and howling, and it seemed to be coming from where I wanted to go. And so it was. I heard quite a commotion, and that gave me some concern. But I had to keep going, for the sun would soon be asleep, and I did not have a single match to burn. So onward I went, but I did tread lightly, for I intended to take a sly look before I made myself known. When I arrived and had a peek inside, I was struck with a just my luck moan. Now, if I was the me that used to be, I would have been in that shed real quick. But I had just made a promise to think smarter, and to break that so soon would not be so slick. I then thought maybe I could just go in and warm up, maybe grab an apple. I would not have to join in on any shenanigans. I mean, that shed was bustling with animals being wild, and they looked like a bunch of happy hooligans. I myself was often called a hooligan, but what makes me think this group of hooligans, you might wonder? Well, this wild crew had that cowshed trash turned up and under. There looked to be like a zillion apples and barrels galore, all floating in a pool of spilt cider on the floor. Not a cow in sight, but there was a pack of howling wolves, a chorus of screeching owls, a rat with a juicer, some squirrels and bunnies scooting about, and one dancing rooster. It was certainly not your typical take-your-turn singing night at the karaoke shed. It looked more like a free-for-all instead. As I peeked through the window, the frost nipped at me everywhere. I was getting hangry, and I could clearly see that they had plenty of apples to spare. I normally would not hesitate to join in on a little rowdy fun like that. I guess I learned that hanging with such wild animals can land you in a heap of scat. I took a deep breath and thought about the choices for me, and at that moment it seemed there were only two: take my chances or flee. Another chilling bluster from the wind had me back on my feet, heading for the cowshed door. I was hoping that I would be welcome at the very least, be allowed to spend the night on the floor. As I stood by the door, I had a creepy feeling that something was lurking about. But before I could turn around to check, a boot launched me into the cowshed with a shout. Then there was silence, and I could feel many eyes glaring upon me. My gut instinct kicked in. I stood tall, puffed up, and with my toughest voice I said, "Hey, y'all, what's up?" But it came out squeaky. Well, first they laughed, and then laughed some more. Then all went quiet again as a huge wolf with very large teeth stalked across the floor. He handed me a microphone, demanded I sing a song, and said, "Make it original and make it good, or else," then left me standing alone. Yep, holy knocking knees, the vibe in there felt bad. The monster wolf wanted me to sing, but I was still feeling that squeak I had. I was about to freak as two choices again entered my mind. Should I try to play chill and hide the freak, or bolt and try to win at seek and find? It seemed I made the wrong choice by heading into that shed, even with red flags waving, but it was too late now. I had a furry behind that needed saving. My biggest problem was that I could not sing. I never even tried, not since my third-grade teacher suggested I shouldn't, and I cried. True, that was many moons ago. Her words live on inside, though. So now any time I think of Miss Daisy, I feel so sorry for the mean things I said to cause her sorrow. But at that moment, my thoughts were on surviving until tomorrow. I had to make up a song on the fly and sing it for a wolf with hungry eyes. All I could do was try. The silence was broken by a grumbling, and then "Keep the party rolling, you ratty raccoon," rang out from the back. Believe it or not, it was a simple quote from a songbird I once met that saved me from certain attack. She said, "If you sing about your own messes and woes, your fans will feel it from their hearts to their toes." With the bird's wise words still echoing between my ears, a lone wolf started strumming a tune and howled out, "Go!" So with every ounce of courage that I could muster, I shut my eyes and just let it flow.
I once was reckless, a little bit lazy. Some would go so far as calling me crazy. I learned a lot of lessons in my time, some which may have or not involve crime. So I'm on a path to changing my ways. I'm out there looking for a better place. Got in some trouble, not using my brain. Was out of control like a runaway train. Friends I have had, but I turned them away by not sharing good times on any good day. So I'm on a path to changing my ways. I'm out there looking for a better place. My thoughts were twisted, my mind in a fog. I pop when I left my roots home in a log. No one to teach me right from wrong. I find myself now here singing this song. So I'm on a path to changing my ways. I'm just passing through to my better place.
Yep, I made myself proud with my singing debut. I was blown away by my performance that night, although basking in my glory was short-lived, as a familiar-looking sheriff burst through the shed doors with all his might. He was not alone, oh no, he was accompanied by a cow with anger in her eyes. Speaking of eyes, from the corner of mine I could see all those hooligans leaping out the window like hungry frogs after flies. That rowdy gang of pop-up troublemakers had trashed the cow's cider setup and left me there to pay the price. But all I was guilty of was a bad choice in singing the blues to punk wildlife and some sketchy mice. I did know just being around them was enough to put me back on the inside, so once again I failed to save my own hide. But I did find that night that I had let hurtful words from years ago cause me sadness and make me not want to try. I realized those words were wrong, and I had wasted so much time hurt by an unfounded lie. Well, that's my second tale. Busy month ahead. Back in 30.